The fragrance of selfless love that has drawn the world into one family. The truth of an eternal message that has been revealed through every act and word. The fulfillment in service that has been taught by relentless sacrifice. The Lord's own life is indeed His message.
Sai Ram. Greetings and welcome to our today's episode in the serial entitled The Message of the Lord. This is the 12th episode, and just to remind you, we have been describing how Swami has sent a powerful message to the whole world regarding healthcare. Staying on that theme today, we would like to offer you glimpses of how Swami super specialty hospitals have set an unparalleled example in the field of medical care, the like of which is not seen anywhere in the world, even in the most advanced and rich countries.
The Puttaparthi Hospital has been in operation for 19 years now, while the younger sister, the Bangalore Hospital, would be completing 9 years this coming January. That makes it a total of over a quarter of a century of unmatched free public service in the area of healthcare offered by a private charitable trust anywhere in the whole world. Together, Baba's two super specialty hospitals offer services in the area of cardiology, urology, orthopedics, and reconstructive surgery. Tens of thousands of patients, irrespective of religion, caste, status in life, have been treated and innumerable lives have been saved. In almost all cases, it is the poor who have been the beneficiaries. Not a single cent has ever been charged, even if the patient could afford it. Equally important, no donation has ever been asked from those treated. Swami is quite clear about this. Patients come here asking to be saved, and our duty is to do just that. Service is an act offered to God, and this is the philosophy of the hospital. That being the case, how can anyone expect Baba's hospitals to charge patients? In fact, as Dr. Sathya often tells his doctors, in Swami's hospitals, the patient is God.
And later on, even the patient is like that.
Let us now consider a few case histories in order to understand how Bhagwan Baba's super specialty hospitals make a difference in the lives of the poor who have serious medical problems but are not able to afford the treatment in the usual hospitals. Let us begin with the story of young Pramod, the son of Mrs. Jyoti and Mr. Mahadevappa, a daily wage construction worker from a village in the state of Karnataka.
For the first 3 months after birth, Pramod had no problems and was a delight to his parents. And then, all of a sudden, he developed fever, following which the little boy had a terrible problem passing urine. Promptly, the parents took the boy to a hospital in Bangalore, but the news was not good. The child had a serious urinary problem requiring expensive surgery, which the desperate parents simply could not afford.
3 ತಿಂಗಳು ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಮುಗಿಸಿ ಜ್ವರ ಬಂದಾಗ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟ್ಲಿಗೆ ಕರ್ಕೊಬೋದ. ಆವಾಗ ಅದು ಬೀಜತ್ತು ಇಷ್ಟಪ್ಪ ಊದ್ಕೊಬಿಟ್ಟಿತ್ತು. ಅದೇನು ಅಂಬುದು ಕತ್ತೆ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡೋಗಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತು. ಜ್ವರಕ್ಕೆ ಔಷಧಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು, ಅದು ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆಗ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟ್ಲ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡೋಗಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತು. ಅವರು ಎಕ್ಸ್ರೇ ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾನಿಂಗ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಇದು ಆಪ್ರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಆಯಿತು, ಆಪ್ರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿಸೋಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮದು ದುಡ್ಡು ಕಸ ನಾವು ಕೂಲಿ ಮಾಡೋದು ಸರ್.
Swami's grace led them to the Puttaparthi Hospital, where doctors found that young Pramod had 2 major problems. First, he had only one functioning kidney, and secondly, a twisted and warped ureter, the organ that carries the urine from the kidney to the bladder. Since the baby was too young for surgery, the doctors gave the anxious parents a medicine and asked them to administer that to the child and come back after 3 months unless there was an emergency. The medicine did work initially, as Pramod did not cry as he used to when passing urine. However, after about 2 months, the child began to have problems once again, making the parents rush back to Puttaparthi. Doctors Sai Shankar and Prashant Kulkarni of the urology department then did detailed tests, after which they admitted the child for surgery. The surgery was difficult because it was a rare and complicated case. However, by Baba's grace, it was all successful. Sure enough, the parents were relieved. Not only were Pramod's problems over, but also there were no bills to pay. And how grateful they were to the doctors and Swami for this priceless blessing.
That is something we have inculcated into our way of counseling the patient under Swami's guidance. We do inculcate that, as Swami always tells us, the doctor should encourage the patient when going before the surgery. We should not give them too much of a downside. But then the way ultimately we talk to them and we bring out the courage in them is all under the magnetic spectrum of Swami's divine grace, I guess. Really, the complications are much less than anywhere in the world, is what we've all noticed. Yes, we feel Swami's hand every now and then in almost all surgeries. Like, especially when we are expecting complications, you will have some other alternative bypass which happens, and some of the patient comes out very fine. You're giving good results here. Really, our success rates are quite high, and unfortunately, it doesn't permeate to the external world. The second, but the most important thing is we get to do it under Swami. And we get to think of him each and every time. And any surgery, even something, suppose the incision is going slightly haywire, we just think Swami. Swami is always there. So.
By the way, all the doctors serving in every one of Swami's hospitals have this basic faith, which good old Dr. Bhatt, the father figure for all doctors, states rather neatly. He says, "We surgeons merely cut, but it is Swami who really heals." And so it was in the case of little Pramod. Just take a look at his face and see how well he's doing after the surgery.
That story was very touching, was it not? Just imagine how desperate, anxious and worried the parents would have been when they brought their little gift from heaven to the hospital. And now imagine their joy, delight and supreme happiness when they could finally take him back home. For you and me, this may be a very moving story of Baba's grace and compassion. But for the staff in the hospital, this is a continuous, non-stop, never-ending serial that goes on in an infinite number of ways. Listen now to the story of baby Sai Teja, the daughter of Mrs. Deepa and Mr. Venkat, the residents of Prakasham district in the state of Andhra Pradesh.
Venkat was the breadwinner who worked as an agricultural labourer during the season and drove a truck off-season. As you can expect, the family's income was quite meagre. Sometime after their marriage, Venkat and Deepa were blessed with a baby girl, Sai Teja, born incidentally in Swami's General Hospital in Puttaparthi. There is a reason why the mother came a long distance to deliver her baby in Baba's hospital, but we shall come to that a bit later. To get on with the story, a few days after the baby was born, the parents took their little daughter back home. Barely 20 days after returning, Deepa noted that the skin on the scalp was turning soft, after which it was totally peeled off, exposing the skull. Petrified, the parents rushed to Swami's General Hospital in Puttaparthi where the baby was born. The doctors were horrified by what they saw, because as a result of the exposure in the head, the blood had become infected and septicemia had set in. The doctors immediately dressed the wound, and once there was some healing, They referred the case to the super specialty hospital for further treatment. The doctor to whom the case was posted was Dr. Raghava Reddy, who has a long and distinguished record of experience and achievements in the area of reconstructive surgery. By the way, Dr. Reddy is an old devotee of Swami and belongs to a family that came to Bhagwan Baba more than 60 years ago. That sure is a long time. One look at little Sai Teja and Dr. Reddy immediately knew that despite his long experience, he had a real big problem on hand. The case was difficult, and top of it, the patient was a mere baby. As he himself put it, "In my 37-year career as a reconstructive surgeon, I had never performed this type of operation on a 35 days old child. In fact, this is the youngest patient I have ever operated upon."
We provide a stable skin flap. On the bare skull bone, ordinary free skin grafts will not take. So it will not provide a coverage. Ulcer will not heal unless we provide skin with its own blood supply, which we call it as flap. So when we use a flap in this child, we have to use a thin split skin graft from another area as a pre-graft for the bed of the flap that we rotate to cover this bare skull bone. So this type of operation I have not performed in a 1-month-old child in my total career. From 1972, I have been doing plastic surgery. This is the first smallest child that I have operated where I have provided a flap, that too on the head. I am not apprehensive because it's a child's play for me to rotate flaps and provide skin grafts. These are basic procedures. But a child aged 1 month with a bare skull bone, which has just recovered from a septicemia, almost from the jaws of the death. So there we had to be very cautious, particularly in our Swami's hospital, where Swami's is the one as a blessing. So we went ahead. We are never afraid of any procedure because there is the help of Swami. Only thing is the parents were very much afraid, and the grandparents, they didn't want to undergo the operation. They wanted to take away the child, thinking that this may result in bad things for the child. And then our entire staff, we act as a team, entire staff convinced them, and then therefore they stayed, and with the confidence in Swami, we went ahead and we completed the job. When they came with the faith in Swami, and when we see our potentiality is that we can do any type of surgery of flaps and grafts in this hospital. So we took up the case and we went ahead, and there was no problem. At no stage we had any problem in treating this patient.
The surgery was long and tedious and took over 6 hours. By Swami's grace, it was a total success, and the baby soon recovered completely. Later, the baby's grandmother, whose name interestingly is Ishwaramma, said, "We always come to Swami's General Hospital because of the care and attention they give to the patients."
డెలివరీ అంతానే పాప ఏడ్చలేదు. ఐసీలో పెట్టేశారు 10 రోజులంతా. ఐసీలో పెట్టి 10వ రోజు ఇంటికి పంపించారు. మాతో వెళ్ళాము. ఇంటికి వెళ్ళాక తల స్నానం చేయించాం. రోజు 4-5 రోజులు బాగానే ఉంది సార్. 4-5 రోజుల తర్వాత నైట్ పూట 4 గంటలప్పుడు చూసాం. ఇక్కడ మెత్తగా ఉన్నారు. ఇక్కడ 4 గంటలప్పుడు చూసిన తర్వాత మళ్ళీ అట్లే స్నానం చేయలేదు. ఇంకా అట్లే పండేసినాం. పొద్దున్నే వచ్చేసి అంతా ఈ కండంతా ఇక్కడక్కడ వచ్చేసి అదంతా గుంత మాత్రం పడిపోయింది. మేమేం బాగాలేకుండా ఆ హాస్పిటల్కి వస్తాం. చాలా భయం, ఎందుకు వెళ్ళిపోదాం అనుకున్నాం సార్. ఎందుకు ఇంత చిన్నపిల్లకు ఏమవుతుందో ఎందుకు అని భయం వేసింది మాకు. ఎందుకు ఇంటికి వెళ్ళిపోదామా, ఏమో అది అవుతుంది, అది సర్జరీ చేయాలంటే ఎలా చేస్తారు, ఏమన్నా భయం ప్రాబ్లం, మాకు భయం కదా, చిన్నపిల్ల కదా సార్. అందుకే చాలా భయం వేసింది, ఇంటికి వెళ్ళిపోదామా అనిపించింది. నేను బాబాని బాగా నమ్మినా కట్టి నాకు బాగా ఇదైనా కట్టి సాయి అందుకే ఇప్పుడు బాగుండదు సాయిరామ్, బాగా సంతోషంగా ఉన్నాను సాయిరామ్.
Not a single penny is charged here. If Swami's hospital had not been there, I do not know where we could have gone for treatment. At home, we always remember Swami's kindness in providing healthcare facilities to poor people like us, totally free of cost. Dear viewer, just pause for a minute and ask yourself how many times you have gone past Swami's super speciality hospital. I'm sure it must have been many times. Now ask yourself how many times you wondered about the amazing things that happen within the hospital. Quite possibly hardly ever, because when you came, your thoughts must have been on having the darshan of Swami. And when you went back, you were surely thinking of the wonderful time you had when you were in Puttaparthi, rather than what happens inside the hospital. That is why today, we are making an attempt to take you inside the hospital to help you appreciate that Swami is indeed fulfilling the promise he made at the time of his 65th birthday.
కానీ ఉచితంగా బీదలను చూచి కరుణించేటువంటి వ్యక్తి కనిపించటం లేదు. కనుక పల్లెలు ఎందే ఇలాంటి పవిత్రమైన యొక్క శక్తిని అభివృద్ధి పరచాలని చెప్పి సంకల్పించుకొని 100 కోట్ల వ్యయం చేత మన ప్రశాంతి నిలయంనందు ఒక విధమైన వైద్యాలయం స్థాపించడానికి ప్రయత్నించాము. ఈ గుండె జబ్బు వస్తే కొన్ని లక్షలు వ్యయం చేసి అమెరికాలకు వెళుతున్నారు. వీళ్ళ గతి ఏమిటి? అమెరికా వారిని చూచేటువంటి వారెవరు? పట్టణానికి వెళ్లితే కలర్ నీళ్ళైనా వాళ్ళ ముఖాలు కొట్టరు. అలాంటి దురవస్థలను గుర్తించి మనము ఇక్కడ ఒక పెద్ద వైద్యాలయాన్ని నిర్మించాము. బైపాస్ సర్జరీ కానీ, లేక కిడ్నీ మార్చడం కానీ, లంగ్స్ ఆపరేషన్ చేయటం కానీ, బ్రెయిన్ ఆపరేషన్ చేయటం కానీ అన్నీ ఉచితంగానే.
Let me tell you some more about the astonishing things that happen in Baba's hospitals. This time, we're going to take a look at the story of Jahangir Mullah of Kolkata, earlier known as Calcutta. Till August 2007, Jahangir was a mason. Then one morning, while doing some repair work in a school, the bamboo support which was part of a scaffolding built up for the repair work broke, and down came Jahangir, falling on the road some 8 meters or so below. As a result of the fall, Jahangir's vertebra was fractured and he instantly became paralyzed below the waist. However, his back experienced excruciating pain. For 1 month, Jahangir's family took him all over Kolkata looking for some hospital that would treat him. Most hospitals simply refused to look at him, saying his case was too risky. One hospital was willing to consider surgery but wanted $12,000 just for the procedure. All the rest like stay, medicines etc. was extra. Obviously Jahangir could not afford that. That was when he heard about Baba's hospital and with the help of his brother Zakir Hussain Mullah made the long train journey to Puttaparthi on a stretcher. In early September, he was examined, but since the case was complicated, elaborate preparation was needed. Finally, he was admitted after a few days and then operated upon by doctors Kailash Rao and Vasuki. Jahangir stayed for about 2 weeks in the hospital and was discharged. However, the story does not end here. Jahangir was asked to stay back for physiotherapy, which went on for 5 months. Yes, 5 months. And how did that work out? Well, take a look. As you can see, Jahangir has now quit his old job and taken to selling fish on a retail basis. Did you see that man cycling all over the city? Isn't that amazing? I mean, a poor man with a broken spine not only being relieved of a lifelong paralysis but also being able to get his normal life back. Let's now move on to another orthopedic miracle. The beneficiary this time being Narayana Reddy, a farmer belonging to Suraranapalli village not far from Puttaparthi. One evening, as sunlight was fading, Narayana Reddy was knocked down by a van while riding on his scooter on a main highway. Reddy survived, but suffered a bad injury to his hand. The wrist was broken and he was rushed to a hospital for first aid. When the bandage was removed, Reddy was shocked to see that his palm did not have any connection with his hand except with a bit of skin covering. The palm was almost dangling. It was a huge setback for him and his family, for now he could no longer work in the farm as a laborer and help feed the family. The burden of looking after the family fell entirely on his wife. She bore it well, but had to suffer much in the process. Not only did she have to look after the children and manage the home, but also take care of her invalid husband who needed help all the time. In addition, she had to earn money to support the family. To cap it all, Reddy was in deep debt and could not work to repay it. One could not imagine a more pathetic situation. It was at this stage that kind destiny led him to the right angel. In this case, Dr. Kailash Rao, the highly competent orthopedic surgeon who had helped Jehangir return to normal life. Swami often says that God comes to the rescue of those who are destitute and have no help whatsoever. There was no textbook recipe for fixing Narayana Reddy's problem. But luckily for him, much earlier, Dr. Kailash Rao had during the Soviet times picked up a little-known technique invented by a Russian doctor named Professor Ilyazarov, wherein broken bones are helped to slowly grow back to normal in stages by putting them together internally and assisting them from outside with suitable and specially crafted steel rings. Dr. Kailash Rao had spent some time in Soviet Union picking up this technique and had used it several times during his stay in Visakhapatnam before coming to work in Swami's hospital in Puttaparthi. Now was the time to use that technique again, and Dr. Rao first aligned Reddy's palm and the wrist, after which he passed steel wires through the bones. That done, he used steel rings to hold everything stiff in position. Such jigs have to be tailor-made for each patient on a case-by-case basis, but luckily, Dr. Rao had a trained mechanic in Visakhapatnam to work with him in assisting patients who came to him. That same mechanic helped in this case as well. Slowly and in stages, not only would the bones of the palm and the wrist help to join together, but were also assisted to assume the right orientation.
And you have seen already the functions which has gained back.
It all took time, of course, several months in fact. But at the end of it all, you simply could not tell that once upon a time, Reddy had a wrist and a palm that were disconnected. The compassionate Lord brought hope and happiness back into his life in a manner no one could have dreamt of. It happened via a dream hospital, a doctor who gave up his career to serve Swami, and via a technique learnt in a far-off country, a technique that adopted an unorthodox method to substitute humane treatment instead of harsh surgery. Swami says that coincidence is a miracle where he hides himself. It certainly was true in this case.
Sathya Sai Baba మనకి ఈ చేయ మళ్ళా సృష్టి కలిగించినాడు.
The next case that we are going to consider, and this would be the last case in our sampling, is one in which a doctor himself becomes a patient at the hospital. Dr. Rajendra Karo is a pediatrician who runs a private clinic in the small town of Kuntini in the state of Orissa. Let's hear what he himself has to say about his problem.
ऐसे होकर मेरे को थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम हो गया। अप्रैल को मेरा थोड़ा सा हार्ट का प्रॉब्लम आया। मेरा हार्ट का वो बोला DCM हुआ, डायलेटेड कार्डियोमायोपैथी हुआ, और उसको क्या हुआ कि मेरे को डिस्निया हुआ, मैंने ब्रीदिंग एक्सेस ब्रीदिंग हुआ और चक्कर आया, ऐसे सब शुरू हुआ। और जो रात में मेरे को हुआ ना, मैं बहुत प्रॉब्लम फेस किया, और रात में मैं जैसे लगा ऐसे ऐसे डिस्निया हुआ। वो डिस्निया को कवर करने के लिए मैं नाक से सांस लिया, पार्टी से बिल्कुल बंद कर दिया। उसके बाद सुबह मेडिकल आया, मेडिकल बाद जैसे मेरे को पता चला मैं DCM हुआ, मेडिकल में एडमिट हुआ।
The news was not good. Dr. Rajendra had what was called dilated cardiac myopathy and was advised to go immediately to the All India Institute of Medical Sciences and have an implant that would keep his heart pumping regularly.
उसके बाद वो बोला 8 लाख रुपया चाहिए।
However, the implant would cost about $20,000, which Dr. Rajendra could not afford, having already spent around $2,500. That is when Swami appeared to Dr. Rajendra in a dream and said, "You have been doing so much for my poor patients. Can't I do this much for you? Don't go to Delhi. Come to my super specialty hospital."
मैं कैंसिल कर दिया टिकट, दिल्ली टिकट। मैं पुट्टे आने तक टिकट क्या, मैं नहीं जानता था बेंगलोर में एक मेडिकल है।
And that is how Dr. Rajendra, himself a compassionate doctor, found himself in the Bangalore Super Speciality Hospital. Thanks to direct prompting by most beloved and compassionate healer of them all. To cut a long story short, on 24th June 2008, Dr. Das, head of the Department of Cardiology, personally performed the procedure to implant a device that performs anti-heart failure functions with inbuilt defibrillator. Cost of the device? Yes, $20,000, and everything was free. The consultation, the device, the implantation, and subsequent stay for a few days in the hospital.
वैसे जैसे लगा बाबा मेरे पास है, मैं बाबा के पास बैठे रहा हूँ, वो जो बोल रहा है बिल्कुल सच्ची है, वो मेरा भगवान है। और मैं सोच लिया उस दिन जो बोल रहा है वो सच्ची है। जब ऑपरेशन हो गया ना, सब ठीक हो गया। अब बेंगलोर मेडिकल ऐसा ही है, मेरे को लगा वेरी नाइस मेडिकल और ट्रीटमेंट वेरी गुड। और वो जो सब है ना डॉक्टर और जो स्टाफ नर्स है, सो इतना अच्छा है ना, मैं बता नहीं सकता। ट्रीटमेंट बहुत बढ़िया ट्रीटमेंट है। मैं ऐसा ट्रीटमेंट कभी दिल्ली गया और मैं एक तो डॉक्टर हूँ, ऐसी मेडिकल में देखा ऐसे ट्रीटमेंट नहीं मिलता है उधर। ये तो ट्रीटमेंट मिलता है और कोऑपरेशन मिलता है, एटमॉस्फेयर इतना बढ़िया है, आपको बता नहीं सकता इतना एटमॉस्फेयर। एक्सीलेंट, वेरी एक्सीलेंट एटमॉस्फेयर।
6 months later, he came back for a checkup and was doing fine, going about his work as usual. Dear viewer, there is no end or limit to the silent dramas of infinite mercy and compassion that are constantly taking place within Swami's hospitals all the time. They happen for one and one reason only, namely Baba, whose silent presence is always felt there. That presence becomes visible through the spirit of service that is to be found everywhere. Through the atmosphere of reverence that is always on. Through the loving care and attention that everyone gives to the patients all the time. So significant and important is this silent presence of Swami that Dr. Michael Nobel, the great-grandnephew of Alfred Nobel, the founder of the famous Nobel Prize, had this to say about it.
Of the two, of a super specialty, highly advanced, state-of-the-art hospital which is free to the poor is a unique, completely a unique concept. And if we add the idea of the Sai Baba's presence, the spirituality which his presence in form of photos or his actual presence lends to the hospital, it becomes a very unique creation. I know hospitals very well, but I've never seen anything like this.
People talk about Swami's miracles all the time. They did it way back, and they are continuing to do it, even though Baba himself calls it nothing more than his expression of love. If love translates as miracle, What greater miracle can there be than the gift of life to one who is almost gone? What greater miracle can there be than a hospital that for decades has been serving tens of thousands of poor people, giving them the best care possible without charging a single cent? It is astonishing that all sorts of great and impossible achievements are documented in all sorts of record books. But where Swami's hospitals are concerned, one wonders how many know about the impossible that goes inside them literally non-stop. Do you know why? We are so focused on the physical form of Baba that we easily tend to forget that he is incarnated mainly to give us a divine message. His missions of compassion are nothing but messages given via the medium of silence. Just think about it. We get up every morning and rush to work. Do we, as we get up, give thanks to God for keeping our body healthy? Do you know how many critical organs inside have to work to keep us that way? And yet, instead of thanking God for keeping us healthy, even without trying, we push the body beyond its design limits. Is this what God gave us a body for? Is this what life is all about?
Dear viewer, as we approach the 85th birthday celebrations of our Lord, kindly take a moment off to ponder and think about all that Swami has been teaching us, that Swami has been demonstrating to us through his unbounded love and service. Please do reflect on all that we are trying to learn from this episode and the episode so far. In case any of your friends and relatives do not know about this important serial, kindly inform them about it, for let them also have their share in this divine prasadam from Bhagwan. That's all we have for today. Hope to see you tomorrow. Jai Sai Ram.